Hello, my name is Yana. I make things and I also live in a forest. And today I feel like I want to make a dress. I have been trying to make a perfect pinafore for myself for a little while. Last year I made an attempt. I'm going to link it there. It's like the worst performing video on my channel or something like that. One of the worst performing videos. But I made an attempt to make like an apron dress and I made it, but it didn't fit quite right, so I had to kind of make some changes on myself to make sure that it looks good on camera. And after that I never wore it, probably because it just feels a bit weird, or maybe I'm not in that space really, because it's something that my fantasy self made for herself and not me made it for myself for my current situation. But that means that the problem is still here. I do not have a pinafore that I would want to wear on a daily basis and maybe like on camera, because I feel like every time I want to film something it's a problem. Like, what do I wear? What do I wear? Because most of the time I look like a homeless person because I live in the woods, nobody cares, it's fine. But I want to look good on camera and I would like to have something cute to wear like to the shops and stuff. So I bought a pattern online. I'm going to insert a picture of what it's supposed to look like. It's a local designer. She has kind of her own style and she does really cute stuff like cottagecore, the stuff we like, you know. And everything is in Russian, so you probably won't be able to buy it. So the size is not quite my size. But I think that with a pinafore, it might work out, because my biggest measurement is my bust area. So it's going to be, if it's going to be small, it's going to be around the bust area. And it has this quite open V-neck. So it should kind of sort itself out. But because I'm not sure about the pattern, we're going to do a test piece. This is not the fabric that I chose for this pinafore, but if it works out, I'm going to have a wearable mock-up. It's called something different, but I'm going to make a test piece. It's going to be a mock-up. I'm going to work things out, and if it doesn't look good, I'm not going to be too mad because this fabric I bought by mistake. I didn't check the fabric content and it's not very natural material and it's a bit light. It's kind of, it would work for a shirt, and I think it's going to work for a light dress. And probably if this works out as a pinafore, I'm going to have to figure out like what it's called, a petticoat, something like a double layer for the skirt, because the bodice is already lined as it says in the pattern. So I'm going to cut out the pieces for the pattern and see you there. I have to say that whenever I need to cut some paper, scissors are never my first choice. I usually prefer going with an X-Acto knife because it's so much faster and easier, but it requires a little bit of practice and confidence. Confidence is the word. You have to believe that you know that what you're doing, because mistakes can happen. But it's going to save me a lot of time right now. Sometimes when you're using a knife to cut paper or cardboard, it can be a good idea for straight lines to use a metal ruler. It's important to use a metal ruler because you cannot cut through metal very easily. So for straight lines we can use a metal ruler, but I tend to just freehand everything. But if I have to make a long cut like here, I might actually just go back to scissors because it's just too much to manage when it's all on a table like that, and because my table is never clean, so I just take a pair of scissors. But for whenever I need curved lines, I just freehand everything. I have a very sturdy hand because I have been doing it for so long, but it takes practice. Practice makes perfect, so I can do it, you can do it. It's a good idea to use an X-Acto knife for cutting out curved pieces of patterns. All the pattern pieces are ready to go. And I've realized that I forgot to show you what the final fabric is going to be. As a millennial, I've accepted my default colors a long time ago, but I'm really proud that in between my default colors, I didn't choose neither black nor gray. I chose green. So I have this beautiful green corduroy. It's a little bit stretchy, and that's going to be the main fabric. And for the lining, I chose this double gauze because I didn't have anything better to choose from. I ordered something, but when I'm ordering things online, and I'm ordering everything online because I live in the middle of nowhere, it's very hard to choose color from pictures on the internet, so it wasn't a good match. But I had this laying around as a potential backing for a baby quilt, so it works really nicely as a color. So that's going to be my lining, and that's going to be the main fabric of the main pinafore when I'm finished with all of my testing and all that. Now, I could have made a mock-up out of something like a bed sheet, but I always feel really sad when I put a lot of effort into making a mock-up, and I like to make a good one because I want to get all of the mistakes out of my system. Like, I want to go the whole way. I don't like making kind of a very basic mock-up. I like to go through all the steps of the process, especially if I'm making something complicated, just because I want to get all the mistakes and work through all the mistakes. And I sometimes end up with a full dress made out of worn out bed sheet, which is always a problem because then I've put all the work into it and I cannot wear it even like in the countryside. So we're just taking some fabric that I don't like very much because it has a lot of polyester in it. So, but at least it's going to look okay if everything works out, hopefully. And this pattern is quite basic. So I have main fabric and lining pattern pieces, and for the back and for the front. So with a dress like that, it has a high potential of looking like a maternity dress, which it could be because it would work well as a maternity dress, but I don't want to look like I need a maternity dress. So if it's a little bit smaller, maybe it's not going to look as much as a maternity dress on me. That's the idea. So let's get to work. Here's what happened. I laid the fabric on the table and discovered that it's not very flat, so it needs ironing. But I also remembered that it's 80% polyester, so I wasn't sure if it would iron well, because maybe it would melt. So I pressed it on a very low heat, like with a cold iron, and I only pressed it from one side because that's what I normally do. And turns out that a cold iron does help a little with the wrinkles, but it doesn't go through to the other side. So I decided that I'm just going to take the same cold iron and iron everything right on the desk. And it kind of worked. I nearly had an oopsie. Here's the thing, I don't do garments very often, so I'm not used to cutting things out of a big sheet of fabric. And I just normally cut things out as I need them. And right now, when you make a dress, it's kind of important to lay everything out on the fabric, all the pattern pieces, before you start cutting, because if you don't do that, you might get into the situation where you won't have enough fabric because you won't have enough big pieces to fit like a skirt panel. And I have 2 sheets of fabric, both 2 meters, so I need to make sure that each of those pieces fits at least one skirt panel. And skirt panels are big and everything else is relatively small, so I'm going to finish cutting what I've already started cutting, and then I'm going to cut out the skirt panels. Then I'm going to cut out the bodice, and then I'm going to cut the lining out of what's left, because I'm going to have a lot left on the edges, and I can kind of, what's the word? And I can piece the lining if I have to. It won't make a difference, but I want to have the main fabric kind of in one piece. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying that it's important to do the whole step-by-step process when you are not sure what you're doing. Like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. I usually work with flat things, so I don't need a mock-up. I don't need to work through possible problems because I don't do garments. And if I was a more experienced seamstress, I probably wouldn't need to do all that. But just to be safe, I'm going to go through all the things, make a whole dress, and then I'm going to start over and make a real dress, knowing what I'm doing a little bit better. Sometimes it's worth it. all of the pieces are cut. I have quite a bit left of this fabric that I don't really like, and it's funny how it's right now when it's not being used, and I think, oh well, what should I should do something with it. I have all the scraps. Those scraps won't be good for like patchwork or anything, so I have a couple options. One is to make big patch pockets, which I might do because I like to have patch pockets on a pinafore. And the second option is I should make another doll, like a bunny rabbit, a toy. I made one last year, and to make a dress for her out of this fabric. But yeah, it's funny. So now the next step is to watch the instructional video, and then I'm going to make the dress. I'm not going to show you the steps because it's kind of not fair to the author of the dress, even though I think it's pretty straightforward, but you know, we want to respect the author. I don't think that this project is going to take too long, and I think that I can safely use some light gray thread, which I use for everything with this. And I think that we're going to take a big machine. I mean a small machine. I mean the electric one. You know, the loud one. But I think it's going to make more sense to use a modern machine for a modern thing.
Соединяем подкладку, соединяем вверх.
Pro tip. Watch the instructional video before you sit down to sew. Couple things. First of all, turns out that the dress is going to be reversible and oversized, so I'll probably fit. But it calls for an overlocker, which I don't have, and some like interfacing that like is a band to strengthen the neckline and the pocket seams. I don't have any kind of strips of interfacing. I do have some just sheets of interfacing, a little bit. I have a little. Hopefully it's going to work. I'm going to cut some strips and strengthen some stuff. And for the real thing, tomorrow I think I might just go to the nearest town and maybe buy some interfacing if I don't have enough today. So yeah, instead of the overlocker, I'm going to use a zigzag stitch where I can and French seams where I can, because I prefer using French seams if I can manage. So that would be ideal. I'm not sure if I can do anything more clever. The instructional video turned out to be really nice. It's kind of a clever design. You know how when there's a bodice that doesn't have sleeves, where all the seams are hidden, and it's called a burrito method, and it's like everything is very clever and neat and stuff, and that's how it's going to be, hopefully. And yeah, I should get to work and cut some interfacing. The previous time when I used this interfacing was when I made a witch's hat. Because it's a circle. Good news, I definitely have enough interfacing for everything. Bad news is that making dresses is a bit more stressful than making quilts. And there's something wrong with my machine. I should show it to a specialist. Yeah, everything takes practice. And you cannot practice everything all the time. So I was really into making dresses for myself at some point because nothing cute is ever in my size, especially not in this country. So I started making some stuff for myself, but it wasn't for me, it was for my fantasy self. And she doesn't go out very much because she doesn't exist. That's always a problem. Yeah. I don't like side seam pockets too much because they're, I don't know, they're not very easy to use and they're not really fun to install. So with this dress, it's important to have side seam pockets because the dress is reversible and I might actually prefer wearing it backwards, at least by the looks of it. I've never worn it, obviously, because I haven't made it yet. It's always really important that you don't mess up the French seam. It's really easy to do so because everything is backwards. You start with wrong sides together instead of the normal way. And, you know, you have to make a few back stitches when you start sewing. We don't do that in quilting. But at the end of the day, I'm wasting a little bit of cheap fabric, some thread, and some of my time. If it's completely horrible, well, I'll show you but I'll wear it around the house and nothing bad is going to happen. Unless it doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, I will have to lose some weight. That never goes well, but we'll try. So, yeah. I had some terrible problems with tension in the machine, and at first I kind of adjusted things and they kind of worked, but it wasn't perfect. So I thought that maybe I should show it to a specialist. But before I do that, I thought maybe I'll, clean the inside of the machine and change the needle. And it seemed like it helped. But as I was moving along with my project, one of the seams, I'll show you what it did. This is unacceptable. I'll have to take it out and probably I'll just give up for today because I feel unmotivated to continue, but because I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to fix this machine anytime soon, I'll just finish the work on the old one. And at least that one works. But I'm going to have to show the singer to a specialist because I did everything that I could do. I cleaned it, I changed the needle. It didn't work. So, no easy fix. feels like yesterday everything went wrong. My modern machine broke down, then I switched to the old machine, almost broke the old machine. But the main thing is I didn't want to go to bed defeated, so I stayed up late and I finished a couple things. First of all, I took out the bad seams and redid the French seams, finished the French seams on the skirt on the vintage machine. By the way, I did some research and it's called Minerva 122, the name of the model, and this model was produced in Czechoslovakia from 1951 to 1959 and I have a serial number here. It didn't look like a date, but it looks like a date now because the serial number is something 51. And that means that it's probably 75 years old. Still works like a charm. So, finished the French seams on the skirt, hemmed the skirt, and then I did some gathering stitches which feel like a fail because the fabric is so low quality that it does strange things, but I did gathering stitches on the skirt so that I don't have to go back to it. It's waiting for its turn basically, because that's a couple steps ahead. And I'm mostly finished with the skirt. I need to gather it and attach it, but first I need to work on the bodice. And what I did was yesterday I took the shoulder seams on the main part and the lining and I sewed the shoulder seams and I pressed them open. And then I pinned together my neckline on my main fabric and my lining. So now all I have to do is pick up easily. Like I know exactly what to do. Everything is already prepared. I can just sit down and start sewing the neckline. I'll see how much I can get done today. I gave up on the idea of finishing this video this week, so. One of the signs of high quality tailoring that we are about to do is that we are about to understitch the neckline so that it lies flat. And I had this idea when I first got the pattern because the graphic design part of the pattern is lacking. It felt like the pattern itself was done by an amateur, and because the construction of the garment is relatively straightforward, like no darts, no nothing, like very kind of basic, I thought that maybe it was done by an amateur. It looks like the designer is very qualified She's probably very well educated in this particular area, and yeah, she knows her stuff very well. But I had this impression that maybe something's off because I saw that the design part of the pattern was, well, left a lot to be desired. But yeah, now I'm proven wrong. The bodice isn't complete yet, but I can already tell that it's a bit too small. So I mentioned at the beginning that it's not my size, it's smaller than my size, but it's supposed to be oversized. Not oversized enough, probably. For comedic purposes, I'm going to finish putting it together and I'm going to try to fit it onto myself, and then I'll tell you how I'm going to fix it on the mockup and how I'm going to fix it on the real thing, which I'm going to make after this. Moment of truth. Let's try it on. I can do this for the front or this for the front, but we'll start with the official version. It fits. I cannot say that it's comfortable, but it does fit. So I won't need to do any extensions, but I'm going to tell you what the plan was. The plan was just to add a little bit of fabric here, like to create a little bit more width in this area, and then if by some miracle I would lose the weight, I could just take it out and have it back to original measurements. But I won't have to do this for this version. However, for the main thing, the real thing, I'm going to make the armholes a bit wider. Like here, I'm going to add some width in this area, and I'm also going to add some length to the bodice because right now it almost doesn't fit. It's kind of nice actually because it's hugging me very tightly. I don't know, it has the effect of a weighted blanket or something. Like it's very fitted. It should be oversized, but it's really fitted. But you can see that it's a bit short. So if I will lose some length in here. So it doesn't really, it's not a good place to end the bodice for me. I need it a little bit longer, like maybe 5 centimeters, something like that, maybe 3. I'm going to, for the main thing, I'm going to make the bodice longer. And I'm going to make it a bit wider. But overall, better than I expected. Like, I did fit into it with not too much effort. Can I breathe in it? Let's try it backwards. Now, this way it fits a lot worse because it doesn't have the room for the bust to fit in, but it still does fit. And I actually like this neckline more, but anyway, I'm going to attach the skirt now. I'm sitting on the couch because my back hurts and I don't want to just give up on the project. Making gathers is the least enjoyable part of attaching a skirt for me, because it's not like exact science. You have to kind of gather it until it looks even. And I hate it, especially if you have a long circumference of the skirt. It's too much. It's too much for me to not be exact, you know. Hate it. At this stage, the dress looks like it's done, but it's not. I have successfully attached the skirt part to the bodice, but only halfway, because the lining still needs to be attached, and I need to take out the gathering stitches, and I think that that's the last thing that I'm going to do today. And tomorrow I'm going to finish this mock-up and we'll try it on and laugh. Yeah, and maybe I'll start working on the real thing. I messed up the last seam of the garment two ways. First of all, the seam it goes in here, right in the seam where the bodice connects to the skirt, and its function is to close the lining. I took the lining, I folded it so that everything is covered, I basted it, and then I went to the other side and I did a seam right in the middle here. I even used a special foot, but the seam is a little bit visible from the outside. So on the real thing, I'm going to do it the right way and just stitch everything from the inside by hand. And the second way I messed up this seam is that I caught the bodice in, so I wasn't paying attention, and I sewed right through the garment. So I'll have to rip it out anyway. My plan was that I was going to keep this seam in here because it's a test piece. I'm going to wear it. It's hardly even visible. No, I'm not sure. Maybe I should rip the whole thing out. I won't. I will just fix my mistake, redo this little section, and then this garment is going to be done. Let's see how it looks. Well, definitely could be worse. It feels better than I expected, but if I raise my hands, I'm going to fall out in the bottom of the bodice. That's not good. And I quite like the length. The pockets, the pocket openings are a bit too small. I think they were designed for a more delicate feminine hand. And yeah, it's definitely too small. I can breathe okay, and it kind of looks like I look very put together because all of this is so kind of tight and form-fitting, but that wasn't in the design. So if I gain even a little bit more weight, I will stop fitting into this thing. Gaining weight is not the plan, but I don't want to risk it. So for the main thing, first of all, I'm going to add a couple of inches on each side of the bodice. So it's going to be like, what, 8 inches total to the circumference of the bodice. So I'm going to add a couple inches here and a couple inches here so that it's longer, because I don't like this. And then I'm going to make the pocket openings bigger, and I'm going to hand stitch the lining to the inside of the dress when I'm nearly finished, and that's going to be the plan for the main fabric. So here's the final thing. It's done, it's finished, it's hemmed. It has all the final stitching in the inside. It looks good. I had to improvise with the finishing because the side seams on the skirt, which I previously on the mock-up I did them like French seams, but this corduroy is a little bit too thick, so I had to improvise, and I just taped the seams, and then I hemmed it by hand, and then I attached the lining by hand, and now it's wide enough and long enough and all the good things, but it does feel a little bit like I'm wearing a tent. On the other hand, it's really cozy, and it's like I feel very kind of like I'm at home. So it's going to be perfect for autumn and spring walks. The weather right here, it took me so long to make this thing that it's almost too hot to wear. Like, we had a couple really hot days. It was definitely too hot to wear this thing, but now it's nice and cold and rainy, so I feel very, very nice wearing this thing. The fit is, I'm not sure if I like it, but it's exactly how it was in the pattern. Like, I watched the instructional video, and that's how the dress states the author, like those gaps in the armholes. There are, of course, a couple things that I didn't quite nail to perfection, because the lining fabric and the top fabric are so different. I have a little bit of, it shows a little bit here on the armholes, because the understitching on the armholes, which it exists, but it doesn't reach all the way up. So I think I can just tack it by hand. It's going to be fine. But even now, it's I like wearing it backwards. I think it kind of frames the face. And yeah, I have a nice dress, but because it's getting so warm, I think I should make another one of those in something like linen or nettle, or one of those, you know, a little lighter, airier thing, so that I could wear it in warmer weather. And I'm going to allow myself to make it black. So that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. I hope that the next one is going to be fun as well. I hope that this one was fun. I hope that you had fun. I hope that your day was good, because not everybody right now is having a good day. And yeah, hopefully the next video is going to be good. I don't know what it's going to be, but I hope to see you sooner rather than later, and I hope to do something fun with you. So, okay, bye.